And so I love that approach. I typically say, look, I don't know what it's worth. Let me come check it out, because I know as soon as there's some face-to-face interaction, if they're willing to sit down with me for 15 minutes, the likelihood of that progressing forward goes from there. And so, hey, let's take a look.
They're not going to get face to face with a salesperson if they're not motivated.
Right, 100%. But
that's the last thing you're going to do.
Right, but I love the way that you did it. Is let's just cut to the chase. What are you going to do with the money? What's the plan?
Welcome to Cash Call, the #1 real estate sales podcast, where we cover real sales skills in real time, as well as industry vendors, lead providers, CRMs, websites, and top producing teams and agents across North America, all so that you can improve your business in 30 minutes at a time. Welcome back to Cash Call, everybody. Dale Archdekin here, and I have an esteemed guest. I don't know where I got so lucky, but RedX has loaned me their VP of Sales, Tyler Fen, a longtime salesperson, been with the company for 16 years. And I don't know if he's being punished because he's on our podcast today, or if we're just super lucky that we get to spend time with him. But Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about RedX so that we can introduce it to our audience. And if people in our audience are already using RedX, I'm sure they'd love to hear from some of the masters back there in the kitchen.
Well, I'm happy to be here. It's been a long time since you and I have been on the camera together, so I feel like we need to do this more often. But I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity, Dale. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, man, thanks. And so, just for those who don't know what RedX is and why we have them on the show today, I just want to give I used RedX back in the day when I was prospecting, calling FSBOs, expireds, for rent by owners, circle prospecting. It was a tool that, I had started lead generation. And then when I realized that I was wasting a lot of time trying to prep my numbers, figure out who to call, get it all organized, and then remember who the hell I called and who I talked to, I went and looked for a solution, and I found RedX. And you guys are really well known in the industry. You've been around a long time. And so, I have a soft spot in my heart for you guys because it kept my bills paid. It built my business, and I'm just really excited to have you guys on. So, with that being said, why don't you just give us a basic overview of what RedX is and what you provide to real estate agents and teams?
100%. I love hearing the validation, right? That you built your business with RedX, and I love those stories. That's why we do this. But everything that we do at RedX is all designed around client acquisition. I would say, Dale, that we're a data company at our core, and then we've built tools on top of that data to help agents be successful. I mean, even in the last few years, we've branched into other areas like social media and AI, and because that's what the market demands, right? I mean, everything that we do is to help people acquire more clients, build a highly engaged database, and then transact over and over and over with that database.
Okay, excellent. And so how do people use it? I'm a salesperson. How do I use you?
Yeah, so it begins with the leads. It begins with the data. Marketing, if you look at your audience from a marketing perspective, I get this all the time, Dale, where I'll sit down with a real estate agent and go, okay, who's your target audience? And they go, everybody. Everybody in my marketplace is my target audience. And I go, okay.
Only people who want to live in a house or already live in a house. Those are the people.
Right. I did have somebody tell me one time, they're like, it's like being a mortician. Like, everybody's a customer eventually, right? You just gotta bide your time.
Don't put that in your marketing, everybody. That's not what you put in your marketing. Listen, it's eventual. You might as well use me now. No, we don't do that.
You might as well now. So it starts with the audience, right? Being in front of the right people who are going to transact is where we want to spend our time and our energy and our resources. So, like, think of it like this, Dale. If I had unlimited marketing budget, my marketplace would just be flooded with my name and face and phone number. I would be everywhere. I'd be on every billboard, every park bench, every bus stop. Every home would get flyers from me on the regular. But I don't have that, right? I have finite marketing resources like everybody, right? I don't know anybody with an infinite marketing budget. And if that's the case, I have to be really, really selective, with where I'm going to spend that time, energy, and resources to make sure that I get the ROI out of it that I really want to. So about 4% of the market is going to transact in the next 12 months, right? Give or take a percentage based on market conditions. But, last year we had 4.3 million transactions in 2023 out of 100 million residences, right? 100 million homes. And so if you look, you go, okay, about 4% of the homes transact. I don't want to go spend money to be in front of 100% of the market if only 4% of those are going to transact. So great marketing and great sales begins with the audience. And so we provide high quality data for people that are close to a transaction, expireds and for sale by owners, like you already mentioned. They're obviously raising their hand in the industry saying, hey, I want to sell my house. You have for rent by owners. They're not necessarily looking to sell, but these are people that own a rental property or two. They have need of a new tenant, right? There's a real estate need there. Those are some of my favorite calls because it's so simple to go, look, you've got an empty rental. Let's divest that equity that you've got into a couple, right? Let's build your portfolio together.
And you guys,
distressed properties.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
No, I was going to say, distressed properties, obviously people in the foreclosure process, there's certainly some need for education and possibly to work with a real estate agent there. And so it begins with data, but then on top of that, being able to have those people and then work with those people in a way, get them on the phone, get them in the mailbox, get them through social media so that we can interact with one another to build a relationship, because this is still a relationship business, right? Everything leads to that face-to-face, toe-to-toe interaction anyway. Everything that RedX does, somebody would use it to answer your question initially. Somebody would use this to initiate the relationship and nurture it to a point where they can transact. That's probably the simplest summary that I can make.
Okay, great. And you ran through several different categories of lead type that you guys provide. Back when I was using it, I think it was even before you had for rent by owners available. And I used to, back then, I actually went and paid a programmer to build a scraper for me that would go and scrape Craigslist. And then it would filter out any sort of institutional apartment owners, like big corporations, and just give me the mom and pops. And I would call through there, and I made a lot of money, sold a lot of property, even just from that one lead source.
Yeah, and for rent by owners are so awesome. And usually when I talk about for rent by owners, sometimes I get people that are like, I don't do rentals, right? They just tune out because they hear the word rental.
Yeah.
And I go, look, hear me out, right? Hear me out. These are so fantastic. Do you know what I love about for rent by owners, Dale? And the fact that you were doing this years ago, you're like so ahead of the game, right? But I love for rent by owners because for sale by owners, it's highly emotional, right? They're selling their own home. They've priced it accordingly based on their research, and there's always some value in that's not real market value, right? They're like, well, granddad laid this patio brick by brick, therefore it's worth more, right? And I'm like, sorry, the appraiser doesn't care, But for rent by owners, it's just math. If the numbers make sense, then a transaction's there, right? Yeah. And so if they look and they're like, oh man, I can divest my equity, I can 1031 that into another property or into a couple of properties, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that because it's not about the home or living in it or who's going to live there. It's about the math. It's about the investment, right? And so having those people and putting those people into your database those are the people that we want, right? People that are going to transact more often than the average home buyer.
Yeah.
And we want those people to know, like, and trust us as the preferred real estate professional, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely. And people who own real estate usually own more than one piece of real estate.
Right.
So I can't tell you how many for rent by owners, and just out of that one category, who I started working with, who then ended up selling and buying subsequent properties with me. I did business with them for years. One of the best for rent by owners I ever had, I called him up. It was a 6-unit building. And I said, asked him if he'd be interested in selling the property or entertaining offers on it. And he goes, if you can get me $450,000 for it, I'll take it. And I knew the area and I knew the building. And I asked him for the rent rolls and the vacant, whether it was rented or not, a couple other particulars. And I knew immediately that I could easily get him that number, sold it like that. And then he went on to do many millions of dollars worth of business with me, buying and selling property and doing all sorts of stuff. He came from a for rent by owner, just like that.
and that is not an uncommon scenario. I mean, that experience where somebody goes, yeah, if the right offer came along, and if they were out looking for the offer, they would have got it, but they're not,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They're focused on everything else, and that's why initiating that relationship like that, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you get me 450, I'm in. And you're doing the math, you're like 450 is totally doable.
I was
I
like,
mean,
don't answer your phone again unless it's me calling. Just don't answer it for like 2 days. I'll get you that
uh,
deal.
that's the glory of it, is because those people do buy and sell more often. It's not uncommon for one of our clients to call on a for rent by owner, and and that person's like, yeah, actually, I have several properties that I'm looking to offload, or I'm looking to buy more. I'm looking to expand my portfolio. I mean, we had one gal. She it was her first time prospecting for rent by owners ever, and we were at this live prospecting workshop, and so I'm kind of standing in the cubicle with her. She's about 3 phone calls in, and she gets this guy on the phone who's like, I've got 32 units that I want to move, and
Boom.
she about like it was game changing for her.
That's
She was like,
great.
this is amazing. So yeah, the fact that you're sharing that experience with me from years ago, I go, it's not any different. That's the reality of working those for rent by owners. It's really cool.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. So one of the, and I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys have best practices around this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I very quickly ran into when you start calling for rent by owners and you say, hey, would you take an offer on the property? About 99% of the time, the question back is, yeah, what's it worth? Right? Hey, sure. What's it worth? Right? What will you give me for? What do you want to offer on it? And so I'm assuming you guys have some kind of best practices, but the thing I came up with was pretty quickly transitioning into, well, Tyler, do you even have do you have a use for the money? Like, yeah, I could certainly get you an offer on that property, but is there even a reason to sell it? And if they couldn't come up with a reason to sell it or what they would do with the money, then usually they weren't actually interested, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
the conversation breaks down from that. So, and that guy that I told you about that had the 6 unit, when I asked him that question, he goes, "Yeah, I'm getting a divorce and I got to pay my ex-wife off, or I want her off my back." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, buddy, you and I are going to be good friends, right?" So, do you guys have what do you say to the what's it worth, or what do you want to give me for it?
Yeah, I've never taken that approach. I love that approach because very quickly, Dale, what you're trying to figure out is what's the motivation, right? We
You have
all
to have.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have some motivation, and our role as salespeople, whether or not people will admit to being a salesperson, that's what we do in this industry, right? Our role is to discover what that motivation is, and then help somebody make the link between the motivation and the act of moving the property, right? If we can
Yeah.
if we can do that, then transactions happen. And so I love that approach. I typically say, look, I don't know what it's worth. Let me come check it out, because I know as soon as there's some face to face interaction, if they're willing to sit down with me for 15 minutes, the likelihood of that progressing forward goes from there. And so, hey,
Yeah.
let's take a look, right?
They're not going to get face to face with a salesperson if they're not motivated.
Right, 100%.
That's
But yeah, but
the
I
last thing
love
you're going to do.
right, but I love the way that you did it. Is let's just cut to the chase. What are you going to do with the money? What's the plan? And if they say I don't know, it's so brilliant, because they're probably not highly motivated. They haven't
Yeah.
thought that far ahead, and therefore the motivation to take real action isn't going to be there.
Yeah, and I think that you can either ask, what are you going to do with the money, or what would you use the money for, or what? So, if you preface it this way, hey, great, of course we need to figure out what it would be worth or what offer we could make you on it, but that would be do you have something you would roll the money into? Do you have something you would use it for? That's one way to ask it. The other way to ask it is, do you even have a reason to sell this property before we go down that road, right? So one of those two questions, based on what you get from a sense of their emotions or how they are, because some people can get triggered by certain questions.
Yeah. No, and that's fantastic. And I love that your experience with for rent by owners was so positive over the years.
Oh yeah.
I think it's so highly underutilized, frankly, as a lead source.
It's a great
But
one.
they
Listen,
they are so good.
let me tell you something. My tenant last night overfilled her sink in her kitchen. It spilled out all over the unit. It was leaking into the basement, into the unit below her. And the unit below her kept calling and knocking on the door, and she wasn't answering. So at 9:30 at night, I had to leave a card game with my friends to go over there and say, what the hell are you doing? And why is there water pouring into the unit below you? So in that moment, if somebody had called and said, hey, Dale, would you entertain offers on that unit? I would be a little more open to that
Yes.
idea. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
that's just it. Owning rental property is great when you have tenants who are quiet and clean and pay rent on time.
Yeah.
Right? But how often do we have that scenario? That's why those for rent by owners, especially when they're advertising that, hey, I'm looking for tenants. That's the most stressful point in a landlord's or a real estate investor's. That's so stressful, right? Because if they don't have rent, they're often leveraging the rent to pay the mortgage, and if that rent's not coming in, how's that mortgage being paid? That's the big stress for a lot of these for rent by owners. So
and I can tell you as a property owner, I don't know if you own rentals or not, but as a rental owner, usually the default setting is no, I'm not selling anything. I'm never selling anything. I'm going to ride these into the sunset. But then there are times when you go to tenant transitions, when you have issues, when we just had we have some units in a condo building, and they decided that they need to put some assessments on them. When anything changes, that meter goes to, should we sell? I don't know. What's it worth? That kind of stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
Anytime they have to devote energy or resources toward that property above and beyond the bare maintenance, right? That's you're right. That needle moves, right? And it's just a matter of catching them at the time when that needle's in the red. That's what we want.
Right. So who is RedX best for? Who's your ideal client?
That's a great question. I would love to say everybody in the marketplace, right? All salespeople. But the truth is, it's for people that have the intention to grow their business. So that doesn't matter. I mean, that's fairly all inclusive, right? We all want to grow, but more than that, it's about people that are willing to take and make the real investment, right? Because the money that somebody pays to purchase RedX isn't the real investment. The real investment is the dedication to learning certain skills and techniques that they may not already possess, right? I mean, when you're calling a for rent by owner, for example, there's objections that you'll get from that for rent by owner that you wouldn't get if you primarily work your sphere of influence, right? You have to take the time to practice those scripts and those objections. You have to know some of the processes that people are going to go through when they're doing a 1031. If you've never had a client 1031 money somewhere else, that's right. There's just certain skills and things that you need to know in order to really leverage that. And if somebody's not willing to make that true investment, I don't want to take your money, right? I don't want you to sign up for RedX because it's not going to work. There's no silver bullet. And I think that deep down, I think we all know that, or at least we want to know that. But many real estate professionals, Dale, aren't they looking for the silver bullet? They're looking for the thing that I can go, I just want to pay for it, and then I want to get transactions. I've been in the industry close to 2 decades. I've not found that. I mean, if you have, Dale, please let me know because I've got some business ideas then for you and I, right? but I've not found that. There's no silver bullet. And so I usually tell people this. I say, look, buying RedX is like buying a membership to a gym. If you're getting a gym membership, you have full access to the tools and the equipment and the weights and all the resources that the gym provides. You have 24 access. You can walk in and out at any given time, but you still got to go in and lift weight. If you want the results of having a gym membership, you still got to go push heavy weight. And it's the same with RedX. We're going to give all the tools and all the resources and the training and the customer technical support and the scripts, and we're going to provide all of that. But you still have to consume that as the agent. And so I would say RedX is ideal for somebody that's willing to make that real investment and grow their business. And for those that do, I've seen incredible things happen in my 16 years for people growing their business. People going from 1 to 2 transactions or ultimatums from their spouse to say, you got to make this work or go get another job, right? And then produce in the 8 or even the 9 figures of revenue in the coming years. I mean, do tremendous things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, again, I've used you guys. It's fantastic. I've used your software not only for myself, but to build inside sales departments and build real estate teams and run things on, and even teaching complete strangers who've never been in the business how to prospect, how to do outbound FISBOs, expired, circle prospect for rent by owners, the whole thing. So I know that it works. Um, who is not an ideal client for you? Well, actually, let me restate the question. Let's first
Okay.
start with who succeeds the most with your software and who succeeds the least with your software.
Those are great questions. The people that succeed the most are those that, like I said, the real investment, but also consistency is another huge thing, because prospecting is one of those things, Dale, that if we don't treat it as sacred in our business, it falls by the wayside, and it becomes something that we just do when we have time, right? Like when I have time, I'll prospect, right? And unless we schedule that time on our calendar in advance to say, look, from 8 to 11 every single day, that's my time to generate new business from new contacts. And prospecting doesn't have to be on the phones, right? Cold calling, but it's that proactive. I'm going to go out and generate new business and build new relationships. And because here's the reality. We are so good at finding things that make us feel productive, but really aren't,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've been with agents and they sit down, they're like, okay, I'm going to prospect, right? I'm going to make those calls. I'm going to write those emails. I'm going to, right. And then they're like, okay, but Dale, before I get started, I'm just going to go use the restroom. Okay. So then they get out and they come back. They're like, okay, I'm ready. I forgot to call my mom. It'll be real quick. I can call my mom, right? Right. And then they're like, but
Wow.
my space is messy. Let me organize, right? Like we're so good at finding reasons not to engage in money making activities. And at the end of the day, we feel like we were busy. We're like, man, where'd all the time go? I'm out of hours in the day.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, how many minutes did we actually spend? And so if you don't block time on your calendar in advance and say this is time dedicated to building new business, it's never going to happen. We're going to find all kinds of things to fill our time, and then Saturday's going to roll around, and we're like, "Peace out! I'm going to play golf." Right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing to show for the week's work. So those that succeed are those that are willing to dedicate a specific amount of time, and that time is dependent on what their goals are. If somebody said, "I want to do 100 transactions next year," I would tell them you're going to have to spend 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week on the phones very aggressively, right? If you want one transaction a month, you, you plan on an hour a day, 4 or 5 days a week, right? And that's very, very doable. But it's about dedicating specific time to this channel in your business, and then nurturing that and really, really progressing. So for those that will not succeed, it's the ones that sign up and then go, I'm going to get to it eventually, right? Because we just never do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And frankly, you guys aren't very expensive. It's not,
Right.
if you're buying leads, or even running ads or doing anything else, it's far more expensive. Um,
Agreed.
so is RedX just centered around calling, or is it texting? Do you support emails? Do you support automation, ringless voicemail type stuff? Or to what extent does your software support me in my outreach attempts? And then what would I need to plug it in with? Or are you an all-in-one solution?
So I wouldn't. I would love to say we're an all-in-one solution. I don't think we are yet. One of the things that I do love about RedX is we are incredibly forward-thinking in terms of product and innovation. And so in 2018, as a leadership team, we sat down and we said, look, we believe that in the future it's going to be a challenge for real estate agents to use the phone as a part of their business. It's going to get harder. And here we are 6 years later, and sure enough, we've got big brokerages in big lawsuits, and telephony just has changed in general. I mean, even just on my iPhone, right? I can configure the settings to say if a phone number comes in that I don't recognize, don't ring. Just go right to my voicemail, right? Like we saw the writing on the wall several years ago, and so we started building other products. So I wouldn't say we're an all-in-one solution yet, But we do a number of things with social media. We've built texting solutions, and while we don't advertise those greatly on our website, we have some cool things there. We've got some email things integrated in. We don't do mass email or mass texting or mass communication, but everything is built around, hey, here's a prospect. How can I get in touch with that person? So, for example, let's say you want to work expired listings in your marketplace, Dale. Traditionally, the best way to do that was you'd pick up the phone and you'd call the expired listings. Every single morning, you'd get the new ones from the MLS, you'd get phone numbers from RedX, and you'd call. That's still a very valid way of getting business. But it's become a challenge. So RedX has done a few things. We've built this really cool tool. It's called Ad Builder. I wish there was a more creative name, but it's a tool that helps you build ads.
Tells you what it does.
Right? It tells you what it does. It's built right into our platform, and it allows you to target the exact people that you want to target on social media. So if as a real estate professional, if I want to do ads on social media, as soon as I check that box that says, hey, this is a housing ad, Facebook eliminates a whole bunch of my ability to get in front of the people that I want to get in front of. But we utilize the custom audience tool, so I could take all of my expired listings in my marketplace and I could use Ad Builder so that only those people see an ad directly for me, very specific in message to somebody who's an expired listing. So imagine you're scrolling Facebook. Let's say you're an expired listing, Dale, and you're scrolling Facebook, and all of a sudden you see my face and a video that says, hey, did your home come off the market without selling? Well, let me tell you the top 3 reasons why homes are not selling in Utah right now. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, message me for more or click here, whatever. Right now, all of a sudden, you're going, wow, that was very relevant to my situation that I'm in, right? Really, really relevant messaging. How likely are you the next time my ad comes across for you to stop and look at it? Yeah. Very likely, I would say. And that's what's so cool is we can help you target exactly who you want. We've even gone as far as we do content creation for real estate agents and teams. And so if somebody says, look, I know I should be creating great content on social media, but I don't know how to be a content creator, we'll do everything from editing your videos. We'll do all the hashtag research. We'll post it to your profiles for you, and turn your cell phone selfie camera videos into a professional production that is something that you're proud of online. So we do a little bit of everything, and 2024 is going to be exciting. As I mentioned several years ago, we were looking at how can we help. So we've got some really cool things coming down the pike for 2024 that people are going to want to keep their eye on.
Yeah, we can't talk about now.
So you asked if we were an all-in-one solution. I said not yet.
Not yet. There we go. You heard it here,
cool
everybody, on Cash Call.
There you go. Some cool stuff coming.
That's great. Well, we'll have you back when those things go live.
I'd love to be here.
Yeah, so we can actually take a look at it. Excellent. So then give me best practices, right? So I start for the day. I log into my RedX, similar to the way that we did it before. I know who I'm going to be talking to. I've either got follow-ups from the previous day, or I've got my new expireds, new FSBOs, new data that's come in that I'm going to roll through. So I'm making my calls. Correct me if I'm calling through the system. You guys have phone and text support in the system.
Yep.
Okay, great. And then so I'm calling through. Am I firing emails from that system? Do I push them over into my CRM? From there, I'm handling any email data that I want to send emails to or whatever it may be. Do I have any social accounts that I'm hitting there to message or anything like that? Like, give me what's a day in the life?
So I would say that that what you're describing, I would say is more of a full CRM, and we're not there yet. About 65 to 70% of our users use Vortex, which is our platform, in tandem with whatever CRM they have. And the reason why it's helpful that way is because we treat our leads different than we treat our contacts. There's a different relationship in place. There's different channels of communication in place. So typically what I would say is if you're logging into Vortex to prospect, primarily it's because you're going to pick up the phone. You're probably going to use our dialer. You're going to crank through, 100 or 200 or 300, 500 leads in a few hours. and make as many calls and contacts as you can. But from there, if you're building those relationships and initiating those, hopefully you're setting appointments, you're gathering people's email addresses if we haven't already provided it to you, entering those into your database for your long-term follow-up through your CRM, I would say. And so it's more of a supplement to whatever your other automated systems are. I'm a huge fan of automated marketing. I'm a huge fan of pipelines and drip campaigns and stage marketing. But most of that is going to be done through somebody's CRM rather than through Vortex itself for the time being. So again, some more foreshadowing for what's coming. Some really cool stuff coming.
Stay tuned. I like it. Excellent. Yep. So where are we headed with AI tech, dude? Where are you guys headed with AI tech?
So I was doing a training on AI the other day, Dale, and somebody commented, they said, in all of your prompts, you use the word please do this. And they said, why do you do that? And I had never thought of it. I was just raised to be polite, right? I'm a yes, ma'am, yes, sir kind of guy. But I said, well, when the robots rise up, I want them to know that I'm polite, right?
I was one of the good ones.
I was one of the good guys. So I'm a huge fan of AI. I think that AI is phenomenal. I use AI tools to build my workout routines. My wife uses them to create menu plans for our household. She'll go, right, we've got this many people and we want to have this much protein, and it spits out menus, and then she goes, hey, tell me how to make the recipe. Give me a recipe for this day.
Wow,
I mean,
that's really
it's
cool.
so cool. AI is really, really amazing. I don't believe that AI is going to replace very many jobs anytime soon. However, I believe that the people that know how to utilize AI will replace the jobs of people who don't. It's one of those things that I think that we need to have AI as a skill, even if it's just your free ChatGPT account. You need to know how to get the most out of leveraging the tools that are there available to us.
I guess it's like, when computers started to take over, if you either could use technology in computers or you could not, right?
100%. 100%. My wife, who is my best friend, but she's not great at technology. She used to call me and be like, hey, how do I attach something to an email? And I was like, oh, honey, how are you going to survive? But so when the robots rise up, she'll be the first to get eaten. But yeah, it's exactly the same. We have to be able to utilize the skills. We have to adapt with the world that's around us. And AI is a big topic of discussion right now. And we've used. So let me back up a little bit. AI, artificial intelligence. A more technical definition of this would be machine learning algorithms. And RedX has been using machine learning algorithms for the 20 years that we've been in business. And when we go out and acquire data and look for phone numbers and emails and names for properties for things like expireds or the GeoLeads and circle prospecting, we're using machine learning algorithms to be able to do that. So AI is not new, but AI, the way that we think about it in terms of ChatGPT right now is fairly new, right? Consumable AI through the average consumer is greater, I think, than it's ever been. And we've taken that into account. So even in our brand builder tool, where you can go in and record videos and we'll edit and do all of that social media management for you, we even have AI driven scripts. So you can say, hey, I want to create a video about expired listings or for rent by owners or first time home buyers. And here's who I want it to be for. And here's the tone of the message that I want. And I want it to be this long. And then AI will generate a script for you right there. And then our system will even put it up on screen for you to teleprompt, and it'll scroll and you just record your video with script right there in front of you. So I'm a huge fan of AI. I think it's so incredible. And the more people will embrace it, I think the better they will be able to do their jobs. Because ultimately, I mentioned this already, Dale, this business is still a relationship business. And the real magic happens in the face-to-face, toe-to-toe, belly-to-belly interactions that we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything that we automate should be automated to allow us to have more time for those face-to-face interactions, right? So whether you're doing your marketing automation, whether you're utilizing AI through telephone IVRs or your or website prompts or whatever it is, if you've got a chat bot on your website, anything like that, it should be allowing you more time in your day for those face-to-face interactions. And if people can learn to embrace AI and other technology to be able to do that, I think that they'll notice a massive improvement, not only in their work-life balance, but in the productivity of their business as well.
That's huge, man. That's a great point that you make, and that brings me to my next question. So, you personally, right? You've been in sales for or you've been with RedX for 16 years. You've
Mm-hmm.
been doing this for a long time. You're the
Mm-hmm.
VP of sales. So, Tyler? What is your personal approach to automated messaging? Meaning, how do what do you think the best practices are for utilizing it? What's your opinion on that? Like tone, voice, cadence, all of that sort of stuff. How do you like to leverage that stuff?
So I think it begins first with the audience. Who is interacting with that automated messaging, with that automated marketing? Because it would change, right? If I was trying to automate some of that communication with my past client database, for example, or my friends and family, my close VIPs, it's probably going to be different than, say, somebody who is a lead that came through my website, right, or through social media. So audience is key, right? I mean, and man, I feel like we could spend a whole hour just talking about this if we just talk
Yeah,
about targeting the right people, right?
yeah,
We
I
mentioned
know.
it a little bit earlier,
It's a
but
big question, but when I ask people this question, it's really like, hey, you're a sales guy. You're into sales. It's your thing. I just wanted to see if you have do you have some kind of personal perspective on this about what you think works best, how you utilize it or don't, you know, and that
I
kind of stuff.
yeah, I think the world that we're living in is more conversational than it's ever been. In other words, the copy for marketing and emails that I wrote 10 years ago wouldn't work today. It worked great 10 years ago, but it wouldn't work today. Um, our head of product here at RedX. He's a bit younger than I am. On the dock of his phone, right? The apps that stay permanent on his phone all the time. He doesn't even have the phone app, right?
Oh,
Like his cell phone doesn't have the phone app.
he has to figure out
It's
how to
like,
dial.
yeah, yeah, but he just doesn't use the phone, right? In
Yeah.
fact, he tells people now, hey, if you want to communicate with me, just here's my Instagram handle, just DM me on Instagram. That's his
Wow.
number one form of communication, and you're not gonna send a long form email that you would have sent 10 years ago to somebody's inbox through somebody's DM. So I think that my personal perspective is that we need to be more conversational than we've ever been. Not less professional, but more conversational. And I think that type of tone in in any automated communication is going to feel more genuine. It's going to feel more personalized, and that's crucial in, I think, marketing today, is making sure that people feel individual to the business that's marketing to them.
That's excellent, man. So I just decided I wanted to throw this question in. Are you
Great.
guys going to have the bot army start calling people automated style?
Probably not.
Okay.
Um, Probably not.
I
And
don't think we should.
and
It's
yeah,
a bad idea. I don't think it's a good idea at all, and I don't think we should do that. I just wanted to hit you sideways with a question and see what you thought about it.
no, so I say that from the RedX perspective. I don't anticipate RedX ever doing that. Um, as a marketer though, right, where I've been a sales guy and a marketer for a really long time, I can see the value in it, but it would depend on the audience and the situation. But for RedX, I would say there's still a value in me having a team who's going to be reaching out, teaching our clients to be on the phone and communicating with people in a real setting.
Yeah.
We're so disconnected in society right now, Dale, more than we've ever been, even though we have more ability to be connected. And I think that those real conversations go a long way nowadays.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I had a vendor that shall not be named call me with a bot, and it was really annoying. It was
Yeah,
like, this is weird and awkward,
yeah,
and it was like it was like your, middle school dance attempt at a kiss. It was like, this is pretty bad and embarrassing and weird all at the same time, you know?
I have middle schoolers, so that hits home because my boys. I've got 4 sons. They're all right at that age where they notice girls now, and so the middle school kiss analogy that hit home for me there, Dale. That was a good one.
Struck a nerve. So I'm going to let people know, obviously I love RedX. We support you guys. We're an affiliate for you guys. So I'll drop a link to go check us out. And so that they can get the special deal with you guys for data and getting signed up and trying you out. And, I can't say enough that, whether you are trying to build your database, you guys are an amazing resource for that, to get more people into your database, because the game is getting more people who know, like, and trust you. And the way that you get more people to know, like, and trust you is get a lot more people who don't know who the hell you are and get them into your world and start loving on them, right? And start talking to
Yep.
them. So even at the basic concept of that would be, have a great data provider, have a great, basically database filler like you guys. And then if God help you, you actually call these people and see if you can help them out. To sell some houses and help them in their situations, you're going to do really well. So we'll drop that in here so people can use you guys. And where I was going with that is, even if you are primarily a sphere of influence and past client person, one, building the sales skills to have conversations with strangers will exponentially improve your abilities all the way around. And it will get you additional business, and it will build your database. Because I've seen people like me who, when I started, I had no database, I had no sphere of influence, and I was like, my phone ain't ringing. I better call some people who want to buy and sell real estate. Let me do that proactively. But I've also worked with people who they're already taking over most of their market, but they are looking to get in front of every single person in their market, and they utilize a tool like yours to keep feeding that big database and keep growing it.
It's key. I mean, you're either growing or you're dying, and one of the really stressful parts of being in the business a long time is when somebody goes, I don't have to build my database anymore, right? It's sufficient. Well, 2 or 3 years down the road, for many of those people, that database has dwindled and the business has dwindled. We've got to have a constant finger on the pulse of what's happening, and we've got to continually be feeding the database. And something like RedX is an amazing tool for that. I would argue if somebody said, "Hey, I want a lifelong career in real estate," I'd say, give me the first 5 years. Give me the first 5 years, and I can help you build an incredible database and have a lifelong career from that. I mean, you said it in the beginning. You said I built my business calling things like expireds and frisbos and furbos, and I talk to people all the time over the last 20 years who said, "Man, I used you guys in 2004," and and I still have clients from those years who I repeat transact with, and it's fantastic. So I appreciate your testimonial about what RedX can do, and I hope to generate many more positive testimonials from people who listen to this call.
Excellent. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure we'll have you back again when you can sort of talk about some of the fancy stuff that you guys have in the works.
Stay tuned. It's going to be amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Cash Call today. If you like what you heard, come check us out at smartsalescoaching.com, and we'll be back again next week.